My name's Adelle Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to episode 295 of Legally Clueless. Thank you so much for rocking with the podcast. Big shout out to OG members. I have got nothing but love for you. And if you're new here, episodes of this particular podcast go out every single Monday. We have another show called The Midweek Tease that goes out on Wednesdays. And on Fridays, we have another show called Ask a Therapist. Make sure you subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to this show on so that you never miss an episode of any of our shows. But back to this episode, this is what's coming up.
Most of us have been in school between 18 to 22 years.
Yeah.
That's a very long time. And I guarantee during that duration, no one taught you. No one taught you budgeting. No one taught you this is how you handle spending for holidays. No one taught you this is how you plan for gifts.
Yeah.
No one told you this is how you can budget around having a family vacation every year. No one taught you all of that. All they told you is somana bidi, pata A, you go get a job, then earn that money. And then no one teaches you how to steward that money to ensure that you're budgeting.
That is my favorite money educator. Her name is Susan Wanjiku, and we have part 2 of a very interesting conversation coming up a little later in this episode. But before we get there, make sure you also sign up to officially join the family. LegallyCluelessAfrica.com is where you can do that. And if you love social media or you're addicted, like quite a few of us, make sure you join our cozy corner of the interwebs on Instagram. We're at Legally Clueless Africa, and the same on TikTok. All of those links are in the show notes. I truly hope that you're doing well. I am in such a space of gratitude and a space of grace. Oh my goodness. I was telling a friend, I think 2 days ago, that in 2022, I went to therapy every week. And now, 2024, I'm feeling the results of that work. And it's just so freeing. Oh my goodness. It's just so freeing. For example, how do I explain this? I'm taking myself as I am, right? And accepting my humanness, like really, truly, deeply accepting myself, flaws and all, And recently I had a situation where I was just like kind of irritated with somebody close to me. And I for 5 days allowed myself to feel anger about it. And so I was telling this friend, I was like, I had 5 days of rage. I was just like allowing myself to feel irritated and angry. We reconciled, but the anger passing through, I always say it, but I really did feel the benefits of allowing yourself to feel emotions. And even when I got to the other side after the 5 days of rage, where I was just like, I'm never talking to this person again. Even afterwards, once the anger had passed, I could see in the situation what my role in it was, like so clearly. And I was just like, oh shit, I also messed up, And then because I could see it, I could allow myself to apologize and make amends for my bits, it felt so beautiful. I don't have the words to explain it because it's such a recent experience, but I don't know. I hope it made sense in I'm letting myself be and I'm letting myself feel. I'm not listening to any expectations from the outside world. I'm just kind of listening to my feeling inside. That's the only compass I'm currently needing. And then this friend who I was talking to about this, I just had such a wonderful time talking with them. It's always so wonderful, but because of work, we don't meet as often. And afterwards, when we both got into our respective homes, they just were like, thank you so much for today. And I was like, thank you so much for being a safe space for me. Guys, I don't want to cry, but if I do, it's like tears of joy. I have so much love around me, and it's crazy because for a good period of time, I thought I didn't have love. I thought I didn't have community. And man, it's there. And so why am I sharing this? Okay, one, because I share everything with you, but two, because I don't know what space you're in, and maybe you are doubting that there's love out there for you, doubting that there's community, doubting that there's safe spaces for you. Maybe you're navigating like a huge change in your life. Please hang in there. Just hang in there. Please let this be like me telling you this. Let that be the sign you need to just hang in there. There's so much love. There's so much light. There's so much community waiting for you. Okay? Just hang in there. Hang in there, please. All right, now that I have shared that, let me share other great things. So I am calling all Ethiopians and all knowers of Ethiopian culture. So this week on our East Africa tour, we are in Addis Ababa, capital of Ethiopia. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. And I went to the Entoto Park, right? Where I did many things, but one of was trying a local drink called Fetch. I think that's what it's called. So I need your help in two ways. Number one, please verify, am I pronouncing it right? Is it Fetch? Am I saying it right? And number two, how do I spell? How do I spell Fetch? Okay. The reason I'm asking is because every week, we put up different clips from our episodes on our social media. And my colleague who helps me with that asked me how to spell and I was just like, this is a very good question. And we don't want to insult anyone's culture. We want to, honor it. And the drink was so yummy. Oh my God. It's apparently very similar to the Kenyan traditional drink called muratina. I've never tried muratina, so not sure, but it's so nice and so sweet. Anyway, how do I spell it? And am I pronouncing it right? Fetch. Please help me. Also, while in Addis, I met this incredible lady called Kasech. Oh my goodness, her story is so wonderful. Her energy. I was just like, me and her can definitely be best friends. Listen to this.
Actually, now my mom doesn't work. She's a housewife. And actually, it's so tougher, as you know. Being a mom is really tough. And my dad works as a security guard in a school, in a primary school. Before that, but we really have tough life. Thank God that we are like in better places now. And my sister is working and learning at the same time. And I'm learning in university, and I'm in campus. So I'm learning in medicine. I'm in the department of medicine.
When you say things were tough, what do you mean by that? And when you were how old?
We have like a regular and like house, like the house that have like a window and door. When I was in 5th grade. Until then, we were on the street. So I have to, help my family, like in terms of finance, and I used to sell things. I never, focus on my learning a lot because I at that time I didn't think that was important because, I know that I have to support my mom in terms of income, and as long as we have to survive those situations. So after school, I used to do works. I used to sell soaps and in the marketplace and everything. That was a tough time. Just I don't even have I don't even imagine that I would be here at this moment. But God, has His own way of doing things, and He has His own time. But there are times that you wish I don't want to be here. Why did you create me and those stuff?
Yeah, because you're human. So you have those moments.
But those moments are the ones that teach you a lot in life. Who's gonna be with you forever? Like who's gonna be standing by your side? And who's not? And who loves you and who not? So like I always appreciate those moments rather than the happy moment. I always appreciate the moment I share with my parents struggling and everything. That are the precious moments I share with my parents. That make us, I guess, connective in the future because we've been through a lot, but together. We've been through a lot. Those things, those tough times were together. So but thanks to God, now we have all those things. We have our own light, we have our own water source and everything. So
So you can catch Kasech's full story right now on our YouTube channel. A link to it is in the show notes, as well as the Fetch situation. But cassette story. Her energy is right. Her family went from being homeless to finally having a home of their own. And she's also an incredible artist, and we got to see some of her art. So this was a favorite episode for me. Head over to our YouTube. It's in the show notes. And please share our YouTube channel with all your people. We're working very hard to make sure like every week there's like 4 different videos for you there. Okay, next thing I'm super excited about is our wellness talk that's coming up on the 16th of November. I am very passionate about ensuring your wellness. And when I think of wellness, I think of it as your mental wellness, your physical wellness, and your financial wellness. And that's why through this year, we've had various wellness talks, but we've had doctors, we've had fitness coaches come through, therapists, and of course, financial educators. And so the last wellness talk of 2024 is happening on the 16th of November. And we've brought our favorite personal finance coach. She's a money educator, Susan Wanjiku, to be our speaker. She's going to be talking about a lot of things. My favorite being financial boundaries, which I discovered I didn't have. In 2022, I think is when I discovered this. Now I have made mad progress in setting them up. She's also going to be talking about Christmas sinking funds. We're also going to get a head start in planning our 2025 finances, goal-based investing. The other one that I like that she's going to talk about is resetting after maybe making a financial mistake or making a series of bad financial decisions. How do you reset and start again? So make sure you come. Tickets are 1,000 bob. You can grab your tickets on legallycluelessafrica.com or check out the show notes. There's a direct link. Grab your tickets. They've already started really, whenever we have Susan, our tickets like fly away. And yeah, so grab your tickets really quick. And the talk is virtual. Our wellness talks are virtual because our group therapy sessions are in person. So we don't want you to be locked out of everything. So wherever you are in the world, please join in. And it's really just our way of making this space, this Legally Clueless Africa space, enriching. So you come, you listen to wonderful African stories, but you also leave with knowledge that can move you from point A to B, be it in terms of your mental wellness or your physical wellness, or on the 16th of November, your financial wellness. But speaking of Susan, we got together to have a conversation. Part 1 was in last week's episode 294. So maybe listen to that first before you come into this one. But part 2, I really love because we talk about a lot of things. 1, my fear of debt, which is so real. We talk about shame and how that stops us from adopting better financial habits. But we kick it off with just me realizing how lack of self-esteem made me have terrible financial habits. I didn't think those two things were related, but they are. And I remember one of the things that we found was that because I didn't think I was worthy, I used to buy my relevance in your life. That meant I didn't have financial boundaries. So when it's your birthday, I go above and beyond without even thinking, Adele, hey, like my budget is screaming in the back. I'm like, shh, don't I have to buy Susan this big thing.
Yeah.
Because subconsciously what was happening, I wasn't even doing it consciously, right?
Yeah.
Is I was like, I'm not worthy enough as I am to be Susan's friend. So on her birthday, I'm going to perform so loudly.
Right.
So she keeps me here.
Did it work?
Of course not. Of course not.
Yeah, it never does.
And you find that I would perform like that. It didn't matter if it's family, if it's again moving actually mad. And so with that, I even had to say, okay, Adele, you have to have an amount in your head,
mind.
you know, where yes, you want to gift, and it's great. You do want to gift.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I'm not too sure about love languages anymore, but it's something I love doing for others, even if it's something small, even if it's a love letter to a friend. It's something I like doing, right? So I'm like, this is clearly very important to you. However, can we please have some, And
For me, it's really a question of what you can and cannot do. And a lot of us are not even honest with ourselves about that. Like, how much per my budget do I have as disposable income for gifting in December? Right? Because you see, at the end of the day, no one's paycheck looks the same, right? And when, again, as I love that you mentioned that developing that sense of self, you could even have a sense of self that is performative because of that acceptance. And I genuinely feel like a lot of our money decisions are very deeply rooted in people pleasing. Very deeply rooted. You might not know it. It's not on the surface. You're not very aware that you're people pleasing, but you really are doing it, right? Because unless you're a masochist, would you really shoot yourself in the foot and you know that you're doing it, right? So that's what we are doing. That's just figuratively, but that's what we are doing when we spend more than we can afford. At the end of the day, they will feel nice. You brought them this and you give them that, and then you go back, your head is bowed, you're stressed out, you can't imagine how you're going to survive January, but you made them happy. Are you happy?
To try and get acceptance. Right? So for me, financial boundaries, they just come in two ways. I have found personally that, and this is just from my 4.5 years of coaching now, personal finance coaching, it's almost a direct relationship. People who struggle with financial boundaries with others struggle with personal financial discipline. They go hand in hand. You've not had an opportunity to practice it at all. Because anything, I've always told people, it's like, sometimes I talk to people and they're like, especially if you've had many, many years of lack of boundaries, even if it's not financial boundaries, I know if you've done therapy, it's a step at a time. You don't just wake up one day and cold turkey. Now we have boundaries. Don't call me, don't talk to me. Nah. It's hard.
You learn and you practice and you do it today. It's difficult. It's hard. It makes you cry. This so-and-so you broke up with and you keep picking their calls, they're toxic. So today, you pick, tomorrow you ignore the call, but you reply the text. And then with time, you block them.
Yeah.
And you feel you're good, right?
Yeah.
It's a journey. It's a process. I've always told people to investigate. If you lack boundaries with people, take people out of the equation. Do you have boundaries with yourself? Because at the end of the day, if I'm unable to say no to myself, Adele, I highly doubt that I'd be able to say no to my mother who knows how to press my emotional buttons. I'll be able to say no to an auntie who's like, my daughter is in hospital. Or, okay, hospital is something else. Maybe let's say, for example, how African families have children without thinking who will pay for them. They have you in mind, by the way. They know akona cousin.
Yeah.
Anaitwa Adelle, she's famous. I cost her school fees. But like there's a reason I don't have kids.
Yeah.
I personally do not want to pay school fees.
And I always say, please don't plan for me. I find it so disrespectful.
It's so disrespectful.
Where you're sitting here, plan for me. And you're not
my
even involved
money.
me.
Exactly. So I'm going to, right? So a lot of us lack boundaries with people because genuinely speaking, it's an indiscipline issue. You said that this month you are going to limit enjoyment to 20,000. We are at 60. Okay, you said that this month you're not gonna eat out. There's food in your fridge.
Yeah,
the food went bad in the fridge.
Yeah,
and you ate out. It's genuine. It's just a personal discipline issue. I would begin to investigate if I have boundaries with myself first. Again, it's not something you'll sort out immediately.
Yeah,
it's not something you'll sort out in a year. Again, depending on your personality. Also, I always tell people nowadays I don't separate money conversations from people's personalities. And I don't mean like sanguines or whatever the enneagrams and all of that. I just mean your outlook of life, how you interact with people, whether you're a confrontational person or because for me, I feel like I struggle to probably connect with people who, for instance, struggle with discipline because personally I don't. The easiest answer to come out of my mouth, Adele, at any given point in time is no. Like, I'm learning to say yes.
You're doing the reverse of what we are doing.
I'm learning to say yes, but it's because also it wasn't always like that. The last time I was here, I think I shared my black tax story, and Adelle, it was so bad. By the time I was waking up to smell the coffee, I was in so much debt, and none of it was for things I've done for myself, right? So for me, it had to get to really bad extremes, like for me to just snap mentally and be like,
what am I doing?
No, apana, you know? And then from that point, now it became easy because I saw the consequences of people pleasing. I saw the consequences of lack of financial boundaries. Do you know, I'd get calls from someone who's trying to explain to me how we are related.
Yeah. And they want money at the end of
ni
it.
cousin wa, unajua auntie wa, I'm like, they've just explained I still don't get who you are.
Yeah.
But they're asking for money. You know, so I had to learn, and a lot of that is, and why I'm saying it's personal discipline is that I feel like in your secret place, when you're just by yourself, is when you practice some of these values. When you practice to keep promises to yourself, right? That I'm going to spend this much on entertainment, and if that amount ends, I'm going to stay in my house until the next paycheck.
Yeah.
You're practicing boundaries.
Yeah.
Not with other people, but with yourself, right? When you are like, okay, I'm gonna pay this much in debt this month, right? And you keep that promise to yourself. Everything about, I keep telling people, financial literacy, I think it's very hard for people to figure out finances because we expect things to happen overnight. It's a skill, and it's a learned skill. Today, I don't know how to play a piano, Adele, but if I practiced in the next 6 months, if today, I mean, in 6 months you met me and I've been in class,
you would know something.
I'll do something decent, right? So I don't know why we underestimate financial literacy, and we don't take it as the skill that it is. So we don't realize that it's gonna take time to learn, and at the same time unlearn.
I think because there's shame.
Yeah.
There's so much shame around money. It's very intriguing.
Exactly.
There's so much shame around, like, if you're not good with money, you have failed.
And I feel like that's something we need to unlearn. You know why? Whoever taught us.
Exactly.
I've never attended, unless I pay like a finance coach or I go to whatever, a class that you have instigated yourself, you've connected with someone who does that. Your entire education system, all the way till most of us have been in school between 18 to 22 years.
Yeah.
That's a very long time. And I guarantee during that duration, no one taught you. No one taught you budgeting. No one taught you this is how you handle spending for holidays. No one taught you this is how you plan for gifts.
Yeah.
No one told you this is how you can budget around having a family vacation every year. No one taught you all of that. All they told you is soma na bidii, pata A, you go get a job, then earn that money. And then no one teaches you how to steward that money to ensure that you're budgeting in an all-rounded manner.
And even things like allowances are very privileged. And it's such a necessary tool for kids.
Exactly.
To learn, like, okay, you get 100 bob. This has to last me until when? Okay.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful teaching tool. I mean, I work with some clients who even come with their teenage kids and all of that. And I always tell them, stop micromanaging. You know why? You have 3 boys, give each of them the 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, and don't dictate what they do with it. Give them the month, and then have them come report what each of them decided to do with their 1,000 bob. You know what that does? You learn their money personalities. You realize, here I have a hoarder. I gave him 1,000.
He brought back 1,000.
He brought back 1,000. And maybe he's feeling bad. His other brother is having ice cream.
Yeah.
So you realize there's something you need to address there.
Yeah.
And then you have the other that by day 2, they didn't have anything. So you know I have a spender here.
Yeah.
Then you probably will have a third one who's a planner. They'll tell you, Mommy, I did this. There's even this 500 that remained. And then you learn their money personalities. True. You're able to train. You're able to steward. You're able to point out something. And you're able to raise. And I've always said, as long as your child can understand the value of money. And the value of money is simply that if I want crackles, mommy has to give me money for crackles. And crackles is 55 bob, but mommy gave me 30 bob. So they learn opportunity cost. They're like, if I have 30 bob, I can't get crack hole. So I need 55.
Yeah.
If they're of age, if they've gotten to that point of understanding that, then they can begin to slowly be taught financial literacy, right? But just back to that conversation on boundaries, for me, I've always said, and I always tell my clients, if you struggle with boundaries, money boundaries, especially with people and family, begin to introspect first and find out if you have boundaries with yourself or if you're disciplined, and then work on it from inside, right? And then with time, I've always said, practice. Say this Christmas, last Christmas you caved and you hired that G-Wagon or whatever to go home with. Ask yourself, okay, fine, I'm gonna rent a car still to go home. What can I afford? What's within my budget to afford? And then we really have to also learn to sit with our feelings, the feeling of shame, embarrassment, feeling like I'm the only brother or the only sister who came with a saloon and everyone came with. Learn to sit with those feelings and investigate, but why exactly do I feel this particular type of way? Because ukweli ni we all arrived. We are all here, we are celebrating Christmas. And it's because a lot of us we define our sense of worth from what we drive. I mean, a personal example, for example, I drive a Mazda Demio that is very, very old. It's a 204 model. It's not even the newest. And I have I've gone to great places in this country, Adele. It's even funny now.
Yeah.
And I have even very close friends of mine who sometimes are willing to lend me their car because they have a Beamer, they have a Subaru, they have, because they're like, people won't respect you. And countless, even today when I was coming in here, very, very many times, especially if I'm with my partner and he's driving maybe, or we are in his car, we'll be asked, una drop.
They think it's a taxi.
Let me tell you, you do not know how it's so bad, and it feels horrible. And I sit with that, right? And for me, it's always been the reason why I've never taken any of my friends' offer to let me take your Demio. You're going to Safaricom to do a training. Just go with my Beamer. They are willing to give you their car because they feel that people will respect you more as a finance coach, or they will, they'll see you can even afford and whatever, those things. And for me, the reason why I've never taken that offer is because I genuinely have worked on my sense of worth, Adele, to a point that a piece of metal, regardless, whether it's a Prado, a G-Wagon, a Mazda, will not define how I show up and how I feel.
And what I know.
What I know that I know. Because whether I came here in a Mazda, if I'm sorry to use this word, but if I'm an airhead and I come with a G-Wagon, I still will not give you value.
Yeah.
But if I know that I know what I'm saying, right? And I've dealt with myself. I've dealt with my imposter syndrome, right? I've dealt with the fact, like I've handled it internally. I don't care what you think about my Mazda. I've attended forums, and there's great women in Nairobi, and we are attending these events and all of that, and everyone is parking there, and me with my blue Demio right there, and I walk proudly out of it. You know why, Adele? I bought that car cash. That's what I would have afforded. I'm not in debt over that car. I sleep very peacefully at night. And just recently only was when my insurance agents told me my car is beyond the 15-year mark. The value has depreciated now, and they can no longer give me, for example, comprehensive insurance. Now I'm gonna change my car for a valid reason, because I can't be driving. I can't be driving around with an uninsured car, because I genuinely don't believe third-party insurance is good insurance. Because if anything happened to my physical body during the car accident, my medical cover can't cover, and all of those technicalities. So I didn't change. I'm not changing my car because someone told me people won't respect you in this Mazda Demio. I'm changing my car because logically speaking, financially speaking, it's outlived its use. Now I can no longer get insurance on it. It makes sense for me to see what I can move around to get a new car.
Do you know, I love this conversation because I drove the same car for like 12 years. It's only this year I got a new car. And my reason was because my car was old.
Yeah.
It now had become more expensive to maintain.
Keep. Exactly.
Because you couldn't find the parts. You were shipping in parts.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and then now more things are falling apart more regularly.
So it's more expensive.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So then I was like, it feels like a sinkhole. Like I woke up one day and it's like you're taking. And when I totaled how much I'm spending,
might as well.
I was like, okay, Adele, I was very clear I'm not doing financing.
Yeah.
Because I think we talked about it when you were last here.
Yeah.
And I was just like, Mimi, debt
is
me.
not it's not your
really
thing. Me too. I don't have the most healthy. I don't have the healthiest relationship with debt.
And I understand the good debt aspect, but I'm just like, okay, I like my sleep, guys.
Right?
I like my sleep.
Right.
And so even when going through that, people are like, you should be getting this car. And
guys are also like, you're Adele. Like,
Yes.
cause it's you shouldn't be. And you see, that's other people wanting to define your value for you.
And they don't know, they don't even have the context.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's the thing. I feel genuinely as a society and as families, we need to stop judging people off of what they're driving, where they live, where the kids are going to school.
Yeah.
Imagine if, Adele, I honestly believe that if most of us did not care about people's opinions, we'd not live in the houses we do. We'd not take our kids to the schools we do. We'd not even drive the cars we do. We'd not be in as much debt.
Even clothes.
As we are
something as
in.
silly as even what you wear.
Exactly.
Your hair.
Exactly. You know? So for me, the lack, that's why I stand by my opinion that the lack of boundaries with people really is because of a lack of a sense of self. And the moment you begin to build that within yourself, because, and you see, Adele, I mean, back to my example, like for example, as a finance coach, right? It's your opinion that I should drive this and look like this and do like this, but it's not my opinion.
That's a you thing.
That's a you problem.
Yeah.
You understand? The problem comes in when I begin to internalize those things and be like, now I start feeling people won't respect me if I don't wear like this, dress like this.
What I always say is like, that is not a person whose respect I want anyway.
Exactly.
If it's based on those things. And the funny thing is, like, when you say you park your car, for those 13 years, when I moved to Kiss, I'll still drive. It's a mini Pajero Mitsubishi. It's very compact.
Yeah.
And I used to laugh and say, when I park at Kiss, my car disappears.
Yeah,
like,
you can't see it.
I have to be like, hey,
where's the
someone tag my, hey, because all the cars are so big, you can't see it. And it's always just, and I would laugh to myself. I'm just like, isn't that hilarious? There it is. And
now you've seen it. Exactly.
There she is. It's fine.
Yeah. So it's so important to grow. I tell my clients that the day you decide that I want to have a healthy financial relationship with myself and other people, you quickly realize that you're not just going to have to change your finances. You're going to have to work on your emotions. You're going to have to work on your self-esteem. You're going to want to really define your life values. What makes Adele, right? What are your values in life? And, you're going to have to really also decide some friendships are gonna have to go. They're gonna, and even sometimes with family. I was reading, there's a therapist I follow on Instagram, and she's been doing a series about people who have had years of distance with family, sometimes even with parents, like people who are like, I've not spoken to my mom for 30 years, or me and my sister haven't met for 7 years. And sometimes when you listen to the reasoning behind that and the stories and the things that people have had to go through because of family members who refuse to honor boundaries, or family members who insist, like you've clearly made it, and this is something I think is worth mentioning. Adele, you can draw boundaries and you can be so good at them, but people will cross them. And people do not, generally human beings don't like boundaries. Remember yourself as a kid. Most times, even as a young adult, someone tells you not to do something. What's the first thing that comes to mind? You're like,
Even the why is
yeah,
not
why
from an
exactly
understanding. It's like, how
So
dare you?
most times, especially like even with kids, they'll just want to push that boundary. They're like, why have I been told not to eat sugar? Before you told them not to eat sugar, they were not even interested. You know, so some human beings generally will want to push a boundary because and the worst thing you can do as someone who set boundaries is to disrespect your own boundaries.
True.
So for me, I've always told people, if you've already clearly communicated to your family that I am no longer, like for example, this whole thing for we must do this thing as a family.
Yeah.
I quickly disconnected from those things.
Yeah.
Especially when I started my own family,
Yeah.
there was the opinions that, oh, you know, on Christmas we used to go and we used to go. And for me, I'm like, we are now a family unit, and we are going to clearly define our family traditions.
What's important to us.
And you are lucky and privileged if we come.
Yeah.
We choose when to come, and we can communicate that this December, unfortunately, we are not going to be coming, and that should be okay. And no matter how many phone calls I receive that day, and I'm told, oh, sijui Nani is crying, and sijui, you know, Mzee wanted to talk to people, and I don't know what, and I decided that this year, I am not coming, Adele, I will not disrespect my own boundary. I will not come, because you see, you teach people something when you disrespect your own boundaries, is that if we push her hard enough,
She'll come.
She'll come. She'll contribute. She'll give you the money, right? So that's why I'm saying a no is a no is a no. You learn and teach that to yourself, even personally, then you also teach other people, right? So, and for me, it's always been very simple. I draw a boundary with a family member, especially, and they cross the boundary. Because I like to extend grace, I will communicate that you're overstepping. In the case of money, say a typical case would be like, ay, unaweza je kosa ku afford 20,000, for instance. You've clearly communicated that you can't. And someone is like, ay, but wewe hawezi kosa. So you see, it's an assumption.
Yeah.
Wewe hawezi kosa 20,000, for instance. How would you go about responding to that person? For instance, it's like, I told you, this is what I can do. I can do 10,000. Are you going to take it? Right? And I'll clearly communicate that I don't particularly appreciate you telling me what I can afford. I'm the one in a position to know my finances, and I'm telling you that this is how much, as respectfully as possible, this is how much I can afford. So say they keep pushing, right? I will give you the 10,000 if you're going to take it. And if you refuse, oh, I'm going to go get a massage. I am going to keep the 10,000. Adele.
And keep it moving.
Respectfully. Yeah. And for me, I've always said it, I do not think, and this is not normalized, I'm not saying cancel culture.
Yeah.
But if someone consistently disrespects boundaries, and especially because I know I'm an over communicator, I will tell you as respectfully as I said as possible that you're overstepping and that I don't particularly appreciate you saying this or doing this. I will disconnect. You will have 7 Christmases where you have never seen me,
and it'll be okay.
And it will be okay. And then they will learn.
Yeah.
The next time you go back there, they wanajonga, huyu anakasirikanga haraka.
Yeah.
Do you know, there's a call I had some time back with a client, and there are 4 sisters, and she kept telling me that she's the one who the family calls, but she doesn't even have the best jobs. Like she has sisters who work non-governmental organizations and all of that, and they are really well off financially. But she was saying that they usually say, awa hawezi kasaidia mtu, hawezi saidia mtu, unajua wewe ndo unaelewa shida za familia. Like she's been made the scapegoat. And I kept asking her, and it was really bad because by the time she was coming to me, her finances were in ICU, for lack of a better word. And the only reason that was happening to her and not her sisters is because of the lack of boundaries. Not because of anything else, because they kept pushing the sisters, and the sisters were just like, I just don't do that.
And African families have this thing of rewarding the person who allows them to take advantage of them.
Exactly.
And punishing the person with the boundaries.
And that's why they're the black sheep of the family.
Exactly.
And you, wewe ndo unaelewa, right? So in
Exactly.
fact, you're commended. Huyu anakuanga mzuri. You know, this one understands. This one
Exactly.
can, you see your cousins, you see your whatever. And you know what? They'll never pull that with her older sisters.
Boundaries.
Because they know, in fact, there are people who will never call you to ask you for money, Adele, because they already know the answer is
no. Actually, for me, that's how it is.
Yeah.
And I keep on saying, I have a list of 3 people who can ask for money and I wouldn't want it back. Those 3 people never even ask. I'm literally always begging
Offering.
them,
It's
please
like
don't go through a problem.
And you're not talking
because
to
you
me.
have this
Yeah.
VIP treatment here.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other ones, so whenever somebody outside of those 3 asks,
Yeah.
I'm always just like, where have you come from? Like, you're not in there. And for me, it's very clear. I'm like, no, I'm not. I can help you solve your problem long term. I can connect you to a job.
Exactly.
I can connect you to a project. But I am not. It's just my thing.
Yeah, and
So-
you maintain and you respect that boundary.
Exactly.
Exactly. So it's very it's a dance, right? So you learn to sit with your feelings.
I like that part.
Yeah, learn to sit with your feelings. Learn to question: is this really a fact?
Yeah.
Or is this just a person projecting on me,
Yeah.
right? Learn to understand your boundaries, and not just emotional but financial.
Yeah.
What can I or cannot afford at this time? Be honest with yourself. And that's why I say the more you learn to practice it in secret or just by yourself. I know I cannot afford this craziness I'm doing in this Nairobi. Let me just chill, right? You do that long enough, it almost comes out naturally when you have to draw the boundary with a third party.
Exactly.
Because you've done it so long with yourself, right? But if you reek of indiscipline, left, right, and center in your personal life, people will walk all over you. So I'm not saying, I know there are people who, again, it's because they are softy. And like, come on, Mimi, honestly, all you have to do is just me. I am a queen of sob stories.
Yeah.
Just give me sobs. Like, I'm an empath.
Yeah.
Which is why I say what I say with as much authority as I can. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you get to live with those decisions, right? And you come back. Christmas is supposed to be a time of bonding, rest, rejuvenation. You come back so stressed. You need another vacation, right? And yeah, you come back so and at the end of now you're trying to run your numbers. Your numbers are not making sense. You're getting into depression. You're sinking deeper into debt, all because you can't draw boundaries.
And I've always said, even rule of thumb, I don't go where I don't feel good. It doesn't matter
Makes so much
what
sense.
that space is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. I remember once meeting someone. I was trying to make a friend. I'm actually doing this thing. I'm trying to make friends in adulthood.
Yeah.
And I because I don't live in Nairobi, so I come to Nairobi twice a week. And for this particular person, I said, okay, fine, I'll come on this day that I'm not meant to come to Nairobi because it's not efficient to fuel the car and come all this way for one thing. So 2 days, I packed everything. It makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I went, and it ended up not being enjoyable. And even when I called my best friend on the drive home, I kept saying, what a waste of fuel, what a waste of time. Like, I could name the things I've wasted. And she's like, eh? I'm like, yes, because if I put that into something, I want to be somewhere where I feel good. That's the rule of thumb, right? So we're having this conversation because of our upcoming wellness talk. So in closing, maybe somebody who's thinking of joining it, what are some of the things they can expect you to kind of highlight that's going to help them not only in this December and January crossover, but even the ones in future?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things I'm really excited to do during the class is to discuss planning for 2025, financial planning, and most importantly, value-based planning. So we are going to be talking about these things, like how do you budget for family? How do you budget for projects that you're doing jointly with family? How do you budget for things that matter to you, like travel, Christmas, gifting, right? And still ensure that your serious quote unquote bills are taken care of, your rent is paid, your transport is taken care of. I'm also really interested in discussing again goal-based investing, because again I really feel like if you're a soft life babe or a soft life guy, you think investing is taking that away from you because right now you're feeling the delayed gratification aspect of it, but there's no softer life than being able to fund some of these things from passive income, for example, that is coming from investments and all of that. So we are definitely going to, everything is good. We're just going to be doing value-based budgeting, value-based investing, value-based, how to, draw or rather create financial goals that are in alignment with your values, in alignment with your goals, in alignment with your level of income as well, right? So those are things that I'm really excited to discuss during the session, and also just how to reset, because I always tell people I don't fault people who've made financial mistakes. I don't even fault you if you lack boundaries with family. So I'm hoping we can have a discussion around how to, okay, fine, I'm hearing you guys speak and I'm just seeing myself, and I'm just like, where? For the longest time I've been doing this, and I lack boundaries, or I don't even know that I didn't know that I can have Christmas sinking funds or whatever. I'm also gonna take some time to talk about how to reset if you're starting even from zero.
And I love that, because there's no shame. I think it's never too late to start. Every new day, every new hour, every new minute is a time to say, okay, I'm going to make a new promise to myself.
Exactly.
And then now we work on keeping it.
Yeah.
And Susan, I love that we have, this year was wonderful. We started the year with you.
I know.
And we're ending the year with you. And I think that is so important to help people keep aligned throughout the year. I have to say thank you for the work that you're doing. I receive your newsletters.
Thank you.
I love them.
Yeah.
You are really breaking down. I think sometimes you think it's just the numbers you're breaking down, but there's a freedom, there's a confidence you're restoring for people. That's not only I can now afford my enjoyment sinking fund. No, it's so much more emotional that you're helping us repair. So I'm so thankful that you always say yes to us. I was just like, Aki, please, is she free? Is she free? Just talk to her nicely.
Oh my God.
Whatever she wants, give her.
It's always such a pleasure, man. It's always my vision has always been so simple. We want to make financial literacy so simple, so accessible, and so personalized that I never want anyone to feel I don't have background in finance, so I can't do this. Whether you have background in finance or not, whether you went to uni or not, whether you earn 6 figures or 3 figures, there's power in feeling I am in control. I'm in charge. I understand it. That's what I want people to feel about finances. Because as long as you feel disempowered, you'll keep failing.
Exactly.
But if you feel empowered, if you feel I'm in charge, I'm in control, I understand these things. These things are not above me. They're not beyond me.
Yeah.
I'm not beneath this. The moment you just feel that, like that feeling of control and I'm in charge is powerful.
It's always so awesome having Susan on the podcast. Like, there's just a wealth of knowledge that she brings in a very casual way. So it means that it's easy to grasp the financial concepts she's talking about. You know what I mean? Please, if there's one thing, like if you forget everything else we spoke about over the last 2 episodes, but if there's one thing as we go into December, please do not go into debt because you don't have financial boundaries with your family or with your friends. It's a season of so many engagements, so many pressures, being around people who perhaps trigger you in certain ways. Please do not succumb to that pressure. You are enough as you are, and don't go into debt trying to prove how worthy you are. You just should avoid spaces that make you feel like you're not worthy as you are. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you grab your tickets to our wellness talk, which is on the 16th of November. It's dubbed Not Another Broke January because, we don't want that in our lives. Not anymore. Susan is our guest speaker. Tickets are 1,000 bob. Grab them right now. The link is in the show notes, or you can go to our website and it's virtual. So wherever you are in the world, you can tune in. And do us a favor, if you are part of this family, it's going to take you 2 seconds to share our wellness talk with the people who are important to you. Let's collectively make that first step to making healthier financial habits and decisions, right? Let's do this. Yes. If you are in the Greater East Africa region, make sure you catch us on Trace FM every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 p.m. and 11 p.m. Just go to traceradio.co.ke to stream. If you want to share your story on the pod, drop us a note in our storyteller form, and one of our correspondents will get back to you. And if you enjoyed this wonderful episode, I think you did, drop us a comment, give us a 5-star rating, and don't forget to share it with your people. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.
I'm Lupita Nyong'o. My new podcast, Mind Your Own, is a storytelling show that navigates what it means to belong, all from the African perspective. We're going beyond the headlines to dive into nuanced, intimate stories from Africans around the world. I'm so excited to bring this show to you. Listen to Mind Your Own on Apple Music.